On his first official visit to Ghana, President Barack Obama said it's time Africa replaces the culture of strong men with the culture of strong institutions.
What is important is to tell the truth.
In South Africa, the outlook has continued to be worse.
Well, and
that exactly, Mesfin.
As a matter of fact, we are progressing.
Wait a minute, Susan. That exactly, Mesfin, is what, Susan, I think you better take care about this. When these Africans come to learn that they are really being discriminated, they are learning now. And when they rise, you know what has been imposed upon the people by law, or what has been suppressed when you get the people really suppressed. When they rise, they shall throw away that same government.
The neutrality that you backed then differs, does it not, from your policies today, in which you do feel a solidarity with the anti-communist states?
As far as we are concerned, we feel that we are part and parcel of the free world, or the Western world, call it what you will.
So that you would be willing, if the circumstances should ever require it, to participate in a joint effort?
If in the event of a communist war as against the free world, we are called upon to do our share, we will certainly do it.
Now, your mention of the word, the term free world, brings up, of course, the indictment of South Africa as it is most generally ventilated in America and the United Nations, in other parts of the, quote, free world. What they say, of course, is that there is no substantial freedom in South Africa unless it happens that your skin is white. Now, the doctrine of separate development is not, I think, widely understood in America, and I wonder if you could briefly sketch how it is that you consider it to be compatible with general freedom.
Yes, I take it what you do mean, in fact, maybe you were too polite to say it, that it is said that we are in fact a police state.
It's certainly said, certainly, yeah.
If that is the case, then it's the only police state that I know of where you must do your level best to keep people out. Because as it happens at the moment, we have thousands and thousands of illegal black immigrants in this country, and we can't get them out, and they come in if given half a chance.
Well,
and again, as far as the police state story is concerned, you've been in this country before, I think, and you are here now, and you need just to read our newspapers to see that there is more criticism of the government in this country than probably in any comparable country.
Well, I know one outstanding example of misrepresentation. We read in an American, I think it was a magazine, I won't give the name, although I could very easily. This journalist quoted Dr. D.F. Malan, who is an ex-Prime Minister of South Africa, as saying, and I quote, "The Negro does not need a home. He can sleep under a tree." Well, not only is this absolutely fictitious, but he forgot to mention the fact that brick and concrete trees, known to most people as houses, are costing thousands, millions of dollars of the white taxpayers' money annually.
What did you say? I didn't get the point. Said what houses?
Well, you see, this journalist said that Dr.
Yes,
Malan...
I got that point. You say what houses costing the government millions of dollars?
I
what
said
houses?
Concrete and brick and cement houses for the Bantu peoples.
But these are the Bantus that are working for you in the factories. How did you get the money? They got the money, they mined the gold, got the gold, and you sold the gold outside. You got the money and you say the money is yours.
Of course
you
it
can't
is.
do that's a contradiction,
Look,
please.
we came along. We bought the machinery. We developed the mines.
From where did you get the machinery from the mines in Johannesburg? Do you own the mines?
No, we got our
machinery.
Mines? We got our machinery from Great Britain. From the money that was got for the diamonds and...
How did you get the diamonds out of the ground?
No native labor there,
How did you
Boniface.
get the diamonds out of the ground?
They weren't dug out of the ground. They were alluvial diamonds. No native labor there, my boy.
What do the natives do? You know what, Suzanne, one point you must get right down to the crux of the matter is that in this country, the Africans are really the backbone of your economy. And it is one of that cases where you get this question of man's inhumanity to man. And every day you come here to complain about misrepresentation in the American press. In the actual matter of fact, the American press is giving a fairly good view of the whole situation because they have a color problem themselves.
Have you been to South Africa?
I wouldn't even pay a penny to go there.
Well, then, how can you talk? How can you talk?
Because I have the facts. People come in there, get every people, no means of living. How can I go there? I want a house, I want a home, I want position in society.
Well, look, they're getting it.
Actually, I myself am against the South Africans. Because, I mean the white people in the South Africa, because in whose house can one come and take away the property? Because what they are doing now, the white people are mining and taking the property for themselves. And that's what they shouldn't do. Because the native people who are living there, they should have what is the property of theirs. Well, actually, before I came from Ethiopia, I was reading about this in the press, and they were pretty hot about it. They were against the white people. The same thing could happen to them, of course.
On this oppression business, if you say the Bantu in South Africa are oppressed, how do you account for this fact? That every year, regularly, hundreds of thousands of Bantu and Negroes from other territories adjoining South Africa, such as Portuguese, East Africa, etc., are invading our country illegally in spite of the law. Are they coming for oppression? They know what goes on in South Africa, and they come back year and year again. Those who have worked in South Africa and have been sent back, come back. Are they coming back to seek oppression?
This does not answer what I am driving at. The Africans have the land. They were there
they
before
do not
you.
have the land, and
they
were
mine
not
the
there
gold.
before us.
All right, wait a minute, Susan. Let me get my point straight before you go. They mine the lands, they get the diamonds, you sell the diamonds outside. And when you get the diamonds, you say they are not to be given their own fair share of the quota. Have you read Cry of the Beloved Country?
Yes, I have. It's a one-sided view.
One-sided view, and it was written by an European. How could Europeans be having one-sided view about their own
They're
king and
radicals
king?
in every nation.
Radicals? You are radicals in South Africa then. In South Africa, the outlook has continued to be worse.
As a matter of fact,
and that exactly, Mesfin.
As a matter of fact, we are progressing.
Wait a minute, Susan. That exactly, Mesfin, is what, Susan, I think you better take care about this. When these Africans come to learn that they are really being discriminated, they are learning now. And when they rise, you know what has been imposed upon the people by law? Or what has been suppressed when you get the people really suppressed? When they rise, they shall throw away that same government.
February 11th, 1990, as the world watched, African National Congress leader Nelson Mandela walked away from 27 years in South African prisons. Hopes were high that the budding political reform Mandela's release symbolized would lead to a smooth dismantling of apartheid and ultimately peaceful power sharing between the white minority and the black majority.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Indeed, in the months that followed, South African President F.W. de Klerk, in consultation with Mandela, announced dramatic moves toward what the government called irreversible social change. The repeal of the nationwide state of emergency, the unbanning of political opposition, and the opening of public accommodations to all races.
Word, and I just say that.
But while talks between the ANC and the government proceeded cordially, relations between the ANC and its major political rival, Inkatha, continued to deteriorate. Inkatha supporters, who are mostly Zulu, have clashed for years with supporters of the ANC, many of whom are ex-Xhosa. It was hoped that recent talks between Mandela and Inkatha leader Mangosuthu Buthelezi would avert further confrontations. But the meeting failed to reconcile the frictions born of Inkatha's more pro-government stance and the traditionally more militant view of the ANC. Both groups now are waging a political struggle for the support of the black majority, a struggle that's grown increasingly violent. The deadly skirmishes between mostly youthful members of Inkatha and the ANC are concentrated in the impoverished black townships and in barracks that house industrial workers. In the last 2 days, 37 were reported killed, bringing the death toll to 70 this week, 600 since the beginning of the year. The ANC accuses the government of encouraging the mayhem to promote the notion that blacks cannot govern themselves. Reports from the street fighting say neither Inkatha nor the ANC leadership seems much in evidence as the violence continues. ANC leaders have demanded the de Klerk government take specific steps the ANC says will help stop the fighting. Today, President de Klerk announced the government would drop several more laws opposed by the ANC that may or may not help stop the violence.
One of those from whom we are about to hear now, and I'd like you to address your attention over to that monitor, is a man by the name of Koos van der Merwe, who's one of the leaders of the Conservative Party. Have a listen to what he has to say.
Hello, Nelson. I'm a South African. I'm an Afrikaner. I want self-determination for my people in a part of South Africa. You can't have the whole South Africa for yourself. A part of it belongs to my people. Nelson, you're not going to nationalize the assets of the white people. I have worked for my banks, my mines, my businesses, and my farms. You are not going to take it. Stop your violence. Stop your sanction campaign. Stop your nonsense. Leave the violent campaign alone and come and sit down, become a normal person and talk, and maybe that way we can find solutions. And lastly, forget communism, Nelson. It's gone. And I hope you will be well. I believe you were ill. I hope you will recover. And have a good journey.
Well, it is true. We certainly would oppose the declaration of a state of emergency. But at the same time, we put forward the view that the government has not taken decisive steps to curb the elements who are responsible for this violence. Certainly, it is our perception that the police are not coming out to protect affected communities.
Do you believe they could, with the power that they have now, they could stop it?
I think using the powers they have by identifying the perpetrators of violence, in the same way they identify those who carried out acts of violence against the state in the past, they would stop the violence.
Mr. Mazimela, do you agree that the government could stop this if it wanted to?
The government cannot stop the violence in the townships. The government can perhaps contain it for a while by sending in troops and police. But this is basically a black and black problem. And it's only when the blacks in the warring factions sit down seriously and sort this out, it's only then that we can come up with a solution.
Mr. Honey, what would you identify as the cause of this? What do you think is the cause of the conflict between the Zulus on the one hand, the Inkatha Party, and the ANC and your folks on the other?
The causes of violence are multifold. There's certainly the socio-economic aspect of it, the situation in the hostels and the compounds where there's no family life. Secondly, there is, in our view, a violence orchestrated against us because the government would want to negotiate with a weakened ANC.
You mean the government wants you all to be weakened, and as a consequence is encouraging or at least not stopping the Inkatha?
It is encouraging those who are against us. Not only members of Inkatha wouldn't want to accuse Inkatha of being behind violence, but there are some vigilante groups who are going into trains, attacking people at random, and also moving into the locations and attacking people.
Mr. Ambassador?
You must understand first that until apartheid has been dismantled, we will continue having problems of the nature you are referring to. These problems are essentially the creation of the apartheid system. But if you are thinking about the violence that is going on now, it is true that the element of black fighting black is there. But this is a very unimportant aspect. What is worrying us now, and the problem before the country, is the fact that state organs are being used to encourage and aggravate violence between black and black. As I have pointed out on countless occasions, in regard to the violence in Natal, we have put a specific, a pointed question to de Klerk. We have said to him, you have a strong, efficient, and well-equipped police force and army. Can you tell us why you have allowed for 4.5 years violence to continue, in which almost 4,000 people have been killed, without crushing the violence? You have taken no visible steps in order to end this violence. What is the reason? He has found it very difficult to answer the question. We have, however, provided him with the answer. We have said, you have now allowed your police to try and eliminate the ANC and its membership because you regard the ANC as the main threat to white domination. That is your problem. And that is why the government has decided not to interfere with the violence that is going on. That is the problem that faces
Zuma. The crisis has exposed the deeper issues of poverty and inequality. Angry crowds have looted shops, burnt down businesses and disrupted supply chains. There are fears now some areas could run out of food as a result. At least 72 people have been killed and hundreds arrested in nearly a week of unrest.
This revolution is filled with so many ironies, really. First you tell us that it is manly to keep your word, right? If you are a man, you keep your word. And now all of the black people in this country are demanding, and even the black people in the whole world are demanding, is that you keep your word. You told us we were free, well then show us that we're free. You told us that there is justice, equality for all in this country. Well then stick to your word and let us see the justice and equality for all. Or else admit to us that you're not a man, you're a worm, you're afraid of us, you're afraid to give us equal stand. You're afraid that if you give us equal ground that we will match you and we will override you. And if that's what you're afraid of us, then tell us that that's what you're afraid of. But don't keep hiding it from us and holding this up to us, and every time we ask you for something, you give us a little bit of something, and it's all tokenism. We don't want tokenism. And there are most black men in this world that don't want charity. And yet still every time we ask you for something, you give us a little piece, a little piece. You're playing games with us. We're not children. We're big men. I've seen my father have to put up with all kinds of stuff. He was a big man. He raised a family. He went down south and he had to go around to the back door with his wife. We're not asking for anything. We're not asking for any favors. All we want is what's ours. Now there are many black veterans who are coming back and they're mad. They're angry. Do you think that they're going to sit down through this? Our fathers didn't have the knowledge that we had. They sat through it. But there are other black youth that are not going to sit through it. We know about Che. We know about Bannon. We've read the books of our revolution. We've listened to Mao and his quotations. We know where we stand. We're not going to sit for it. We're asking, and if we ask and we don't get, we're prepared to stand up and take it. If I ask a man, I tell a man I am hungry. I tell him I am cold. And I ask him to do something about my condition. And this man holds a loaf of bread right in front of me so I can see it. And I keep asking him, I'm begging him to please give me a slice of the loaf of bread. I am hungry. Then it is known by every psychologist that the next step in the progression is I am going to knock him upside the head and take the bread from him. I'm not going to starve to death. All we're asking, no one wants to see blood. No one likes the smell of blood. No one wants war. Anyone who's been in war doesn't want war. Everyone knows what it is to see the inside of a man's gut hanging out and see your friends die, see relatives die. No one wants to regress back to the state of mind where you have to think it's all for the cause, therefore my mother has to die, my wife has to die, my brothers and sisters have to die. No one wants that. But you're pushing us to it. You're leaving us no choice. We're asking, we're begging. The students up at Columbia, they ask. The brothers down south ask. The brothers in Latin America, the brothers in Africa, they're all asking. All they're doing is asking. Our fathers asked. Our grandfathers asked. The presidents of our universities, our colleges had to go to your back doors to beg that their children be given just enough money so that they could be taught something to live off. And yet still they asked and asked and asked, and you refused to give them anything. Now, we're just about out of patience. We're not gonna ask anymore. The news media says that it's only the young that are militant, only the young that want this and want that. Okay, but we're 40% of the black population now. Or we were a year ago, and still yet we're climbing. Before long we'll be 50%, 55%, and then we'll have the command. We're not going to take it. We're not going to take sitting in rotten parks and in places that just aren't fit for living. We're not going to take it. There's a limit to a man's patience, and everyone knows it. God, Christ, heaven, everyone knows that what we're asking is not $1 million. What we're asking for is humanity. We're asking to be allowed to live like human beings. And God, you tell us that this is too much to ask. You're sick. You're definitely sick. How can you tell me that it's too much to ask to be a human being?